Hey there, it's Shirley Tonkin-Smith, and if you would like to create a business that supports your best life, even in uncertain times, then I'd like to talk to you about the Playful Business Revolution. Let's dive in. So, work-life balance. Let's talk about that for a minute. So, as a business owner, the concept of work-life balance, I have found, has always seemed super elusive to me. It just hasn't quite landed with me, and it hasn't quite worked for me. Has it been the same with you? But then we all turn over the calendar to March 2020, and honestly, it officially became impossible. Work-life balance officially became impossible. So, how about you? How many of these have you experienced? National or state lockdowns or stay-at-home orders, the loss of childcare, supervising online schooling or hybrid schooling, starting homeschooling, that was something I did, family members working from home and having to find the space for them and keeping quiet in the Zoom meetings, and you know the drill. Illness due to COVID-19. I recently contracted COVID-19 and had to really spend a good 2 weeks recovering, and I am still in the recovery process. Cancelled special events, anticipated holidays, or family milestones. I'm sure there have been a number of those that you've experienced over this time. The loss of household income. So perhaps someone in your household that was bringing in income has lost their jobs, or you've had to change your working hours and lost income because of that. There's also the loss of loved ones due to COVID-19 or due to other illnesses. And then there's this very tricky and difficult kind of process where we lose the grieving processes that we are almost used to, that in that state of grief we can kind of fall back on and know that there are certainty and a sure thing. COVID and the pandemic has changed all of that. So it has been a difficult time. It's been a difficult 18 months or so. But in this difficult time, we've also experienced some more positive things. So how many of these have you experienced? A new perspective on life, a new outlook on what's important and what's not important, space in the schedule, because things are cancelled. There's almost no choice but to have some space and have some time, and so then there's also a slowing down of life. Have you been surprised by how strong or capable or creative you are? I've had my moments of really being surprised at how I've had to adapt to these challenges. Have you been surprised by how good it is to ask for and then to receive help? I think for many of us, we have, kind of had the superwoman idea, and in the midst of pandemic times, which I feel we are still very much living in, we've had to ask for help. And it's actually been pretty good. It's been pretty good to receive that help and to know that it's out there. And I'm sure you've also been able to help others in these kind of times. I think often some of us have extra time that we can give to others and vice versa, and extra skills and talents and that kind of thing. Have you been left feeling more grateful, more hopeful, more loving? Not despite the challenges, but because of the challenges. Like for me, actually being sick really made me more grateful for my health, more appreciative of my health. And just overall, like in the face of these challenges, I think, and you see what's important and not important. And so you end up actually with a lot of positive feelings, even in amongst these tricky feelings. Have you been left with a desire to start a business or otherwise to change the way your business operates? That might be you. And overall, I have come out with this feeling of a desire to create a business that supports my best life. So, is that you? Are you saying this now? I want to create a business that supports my best life, even when things get tricky. Because let's be honest, your best life is not going to be excluding all the tricky things that come up. That's just a fake life. That's utopia, and that doesn't exist. Your best life is when you're faced with those challenges, when things do get tricky. So if you want to create that kind of business that really supports your best life, then I'm going to suggest that we ditch the idea and the concept of work-life balance, because I think that's getting in the way of you creating that business that supports your best life. Because in work-life balance, you're assuming that work and life are competing, like in the scale here. So we don't want to have this clear line between work and life. I don't think anymore that is helpful, nor do I think it is possible. So let's ditch the idea of work-life balance. They're not in competition. The work that you do in your business can feel aligned and fulfilling with what you want out of life as a whole. So we're going to mix them up. We're going to ditch work-life balance and we're going to get them working together. So as you can see with my lovely smart art, I've got these cogs with work as one cog and life as another cog, and together they're working together and turning that best life cog, turning the wheels of your best life. I also picture this as like mixing up a cake, but they don't have that in smart art. So we're going to like mix up work and life together and actually embrace the messiness. And when you're making like a cake or a bread or something like that, you can see it's messy at some point when as you mix in all of them together. But then that actually produces an amazing output, that loaf of bread or that the delicious cake. So leaving the ingredients out on the shelf and trying to go, okay, let's only make eggs and now we are going to eat some yeast, that would be amazing. You don't want to separate out all those ingredients. It's in the mixing, in the messiness, that you are going to be living your best life and creating your best baked goods. So this all happens within the storms of life, within the trickiness of life. We're going to embrace that. So if you're still on board with, I want to create a business that supports my best life, even when things get tricky, but you're asking yourself, but how? How do I create a business that supports my best life? What am I going to do when I'm supervising online learning, when I potentially get COVID, when dealing with the loss of loved ones and all these kinds of tragedies and challenges of life? So what I've got to suggest for you in terms of your business is this business approach spectrum. So the way I see it, you could take one of two extremes. You could choose these options on a spectrum. So you could choose to wing it. And this is generally where I tend towards. And when you wing it, it's a term from theatre. I didn't know this, but it comes from improv in theatre, and the actor will kind of quickly learn their lines as best they can, and then they'll step out onto stage with the spotlight on them, and they'll have a prompter in the wings that prompts them, and they'll just kind of do their best, and this person in the wings will prompt them as they're going along. And so that's how you wing it on the stage. But of course that's really hard, and you've got the spotlight on you and you're having to perform when you haven't had much preparation at all. So you could choose to do that in your business, and that could look like taking any and all opportunities that pass you by or that come your way. You could guess. Just go, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's best for my business. Nobody knows, so I'm just going to guess. You could have no plan of going, you know what? Planning has not worked for me, and we can't predict the future anyway, so let's just not have a plan at all. Okay, you could choose that path. As you can tell, there's going to be some problems with that path. You are going to feel a little directionless. You are going to feel a sense of a lack of purpose. And I'm kind of thinking that if you're here, that's not what you're going to want to feel in your business. And you're going to feel uncomfortable, not just uncomfortable, but I think unfulfilled when those things come up. So you could go the other extreme and control it. This is when you are hyper-focused and like totally results driven. So it's, when you set those SMART goals, very clear targets, and not only setting those goals, but you set the steps that you're going to reach on the way to that very smart, very specific goal. You also have that really granular plan of going, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get to this particular income goal, or perhaps it's to launch a specific product or an offer, and you want to have a specific number of people. Now, it's great to get specific like that, but often when we have such a granular plan, such a specific plan, and we're so attached to our results, we get so disappointed when we don't achieve those exact results. And a person like me, where you're more on the Gretchen Rubin kind of rebel scale, you start to self-sabotage. If you don't meet the first little milestone that you set for yourself, then you start to self-sabotage and you just go, oh, well, I'm just going to let go of this goal completely. And I experienced this at the end of 2019 and then into 2020. End of 2019, I thought, I am going to take my business seriously. I am going to plan the heck out of 2020. And I got myself a nice big year planner that I put up, a dry erase marker, and I planned everything down to the day. I included everything in that plan. I had huge income goals, and I was like, this is all planned. And then we started homeschooling, and swiftly after that, the pandemic really hit, and that plan fell to pieces. And I have since then had to really make peace with the idea that my plan didn't work. And I kind of have resisted planning of any sort since then. Although I have started to embrace it in terms of a beautiful middle ground here, because we can't ditch planning, guys. We have to plan. We have to have some kind of direction for the future. But yet we can't be so attached to the outcomes that we are blind to these serendipities that come our way. So that's the problem with this controlling it kind of option. We're trying to really rein in the future. And I don't know, but there's no magic wand. There's no one that can completely predict the future. So the middle ground here is to play it. Instead of winging it, instead of trying to control it, we're going to play it. We're going to be playful about the outcomes. And you can see in that picture there's still this playbook strategy. There's still some strategy to play, but yet you are also embracing the spontaneity and the creativity that comes with the winging it side. You're still playing on the field. If you're playing a sport, you've got these tactics and the strategy, but then you're also in the moment choosing which tactics to apply, and you're also having a whole lot of fun in the process. So in business, what this looks like is that you've got a very light focus. You are vision driven rather than this results driven kind of approach, and you are very clear on the object of your game. So when you're playing a game, you're going to have the objects of the game, okay? And that's the overarching thing of what you're trying to get out of this whole thing. And when you're playing it in business, you need to get clear on what is the object of the game, and you need to get clear on what game you're playing. Because often we look at, oh my goodness, so-and-so is so much better at social media, and somebody else has got an amazing group program, and so-and-so is making so much money in their business. And then we're comparing ourselves to other people. But we're playing a different game. They playing with Duplo blocks, and we're busy doing some free play painting, if I'm comparing it to my kids. So you're going to get clear on the object of your game. So what game are you playing in the first place? And then what is the object of that game? And the way you're going to do that is to experiment and reflect. So you are going to have experiments, and experiments kind of give you that boundary from the control it side of things. And because you kind of go, what am I testing in my experiment, and how long is this experiment going to last for? And then you don't just like experiment and leave it, because that's kind of getting into winging it territory and shiny object syndrome and all those kinds of things we want to avoid. So instead, you are going to experiment and then reflect on that experiment, because then you can get the answers for yourself. You don't have to just copy what someone else is doing, but instead you reflect on what went well, what didn't go so well, how did I feel, is this something I want to take forward? And you get the answers for yourself, and you're not comparing yourself to somebody else's business or somebody else's life, because often when we do that, we're comparing to a very minuscule part of it. So that is the business approach spectrum that I feel like we can use on our playful business revolution journey. So playing it in the middle, that's the way to go. That's the way to bring the best of both of these worlds of winging it and controlling it. So if you are on board for playing it, then I would love to invite you to join the Playful Business Revolution. In the Playful Business Revolution, we are going to incorporate a lot of the principles of play that we see kids using. They learn through play. And I believe that as business owners, we can plot our own path, and we can deal with the uncertainties of life. We can deal with the trickiness of life through a playful approach to business. And no longer do we need to try and balance work and life. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to mix those all up. We're going to experiment, and we are going to reflect on that through play. So join the Playful Business Revolution. I will be coming up with a book very soon, and it's all about how you can be more playful in your business. It'll have a set of principles for the Playful Business Manifesto, and you will be able to know how you can actually play in your business.